Good afternoon, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to look at the energies for today's Monday's Musings. Today in the UK we have a bank holiday Monday and there's a real emphasis there of first and foremost slowing down. There's several different types of energy trying to come through at the moment, I've noticed myself. In how we portray or how, more importantly, we perceive who we are. So when I started this video, my head was really itching, and the beginning part of the video was me scratching my head, and I was almost going to leave it in because that's what's expected of me, to have a laugh and a joke and from my own view take myself less seriously. And this week there feels like there's a real need for definition between seriousness and sacredness. I can definitely take that on board myself. A real recognition that we can still be sacred and light. In fact, it's fundamental right now that we can still have a good laugh at ourselves, but that doesn't mean that we're any less spiritual. That we can still get caught up in the daily concerns of everyday life and recognise that that is still part of our, there's a lot of stills there, part of our spiritual practice. That it isn't about stepping outside of what is occurring for us. It isn't about separating ourselves from the very human aspects of who we are this week. If anything, in order for there to be any shifts that we may be longing for, any shifts that we may feel we are now ready for, first and foremost, are we ready for them? At what angle are we coming at them from? Which is something I will discuss in a moment. But also, more importantly, that human aspect is going to be needed. It always has been. It always has been needed. I've been talking to some really dear friends of mine this morning about recognizing the magic in the mundane. The chopped wood carry water, but not seeing it as a chore. It's not as a chore to separate ourselves from what is actually going on. It's about application to life. It's about experiential learning. I posted something really beautiful on my stories on Instagram today, and it came from TikTok. This week's blog for the new moon in Taurus is very much about TikTok, very much about how a very small message, often underrated, often looked down upon, often seen as less serious, less worthy in the big game players of social media. And take of that what you will, whether that's social media, whether that's how you perceive yourself in your arena, whether that's how others see you in your everyday life, in your family situations, in your workplace even. Those that have been underestimated are going to come to the forefront this week for the impact that is not only needed, but that they have ultimately been having without, dare I say it, the recognition. Now, you can get caught up in the recognition from others, but what's really important this week is to acknowledge the recognition of ourselves by and for ourselves. That comes from a human perspective, which we cannot and really could do without avoiding, because it's an essential part of the experience. It's an essential, slow down, exceptional part of the learning. When we open to that, when we open to our body being the tool of the translator, that everything that is occurring around us, when we open up to that, it will come through, and it will come through very quick, very clear, very defining. And this week is a real defining moment, and I feel that in my chest, a real defining moment for us all, in how I feel it from behind the back of my eyes and how we see ourselves and each other, and to really encourage us to look at that, pun intended, to look at that this week. So yes, let's backtrack. Really important to stay grounded with all the information that's coming in, but let's backtrack back into the body and the original inner sights. The blog this week for the new moon in Taurus is very much about recognizing the different shades of who we are and how vital they are to our own progression, our own evolution. I can see the analogy of Planet of the Apes, which is actually coming out this week, and also the film The Fall Guy, really acknowledging the parts of us that we may have put to one side, that we may have got other energies in to do the work, you know, that stunt double, got other connections in to empower us, but knowing that now is the time to bring back those aspects of ourselves, that only we can do what it is we are expecting ourselves to do, and expecting of other relationships and scenarios and situations as a result. There is a great evolution here occurring And it does come down to the body, and it does come down to recognition of the many different shades of what it means to be human, of the experience. Not only the Rainbow Tribe prophecy externally, but within us also, to acknowledge that everything we feel, everything we go through, everything, every judgment, every thought, every movement, every sensation is essential to the bigger plan. We talk about the bigger plan, we talk about the greater good, and yet we pick and choose what bits we want in there. And that's not that that free will isn't there, but you know, for example, a lot of my strength that I have gained, my determination, stubbornness, perseverance, has come from struggles, has come from unbalanced root chakras as a result, and have come from the many lessons that I've needed to restore the harmony in that. So me taking out that part of me that may be frightened when I can't pay my bills, getting rid of that part isn't actually necessary. It's going to help spur me on. An example, this week I've had to buy a new medicine bed, a new massage bed, and it's a swanky one, and it's way out of my comfort zone in regards to how much I was willing to invest in the massages, but also in myself. But that wobble, these wobbles that we have, they empower us to strengthen our core soul strength. So what that's done for me is, how much do I enjoy doing the massages? Loads. How much do I really see the benefit of them? Loads. How much do I believe in myself? Oh, there's a bit of a jar there. So now I can work with that, but I never would have been able to do that without feeling that in my body first. Recognizing that lack isn't the whole picture, but it is definitely part of it this week. It is definitely part of it to help us acknowledge what we truly want, which is what the new moon in Taurus is all about. Okay, let's come back to the blog. Breathe, pause. Let's come back to the blog. There are many aspects of ourselves, many aspects of those around us, many aspects of social media, of healing, of connection, of insight, that have gone under the radar, that have gone unnoticed. And this week that is going to come to light, and that is going to make us almost feel like, who am I? What part of me do I want to take forward? And this is where we're being encouraged to realize that we don't have to pick, that actually the more embodied we can be in all aspects of who we are, the greater the impact we are going to have. So this morning with the I keep wanting to say medicine bed, so it must be a medicine bed that I've actually bought, with the massage table that I've bought, it started me down the road of wanting to get more professional, how I would see more professional, which is great, you know, having clothes, having a uniform just for work, hygiene, professionalism, absolutely. Getting stocks and supplies that I actually need for work, yeah, 100%. But in the shadow aspect, there was part of me that thought, I need to stop sharing the things that I share on Instagram. I need to be more rigid and more what people expect of me to share on Instagram if I'm going to be taken seriously. And that's the nub this week. If it is about being taken seriously, that's not sacredly. We need to really recognize that difference. We can still have humor. We can still have shadow aspects. We can still have parts where people think, oh, I'm not too sure about that. Well, you're not here to like me as a person. You're here to come for X, Y, and Z as a reader, as a healer, as a massage, however that may be. Now, if that relates to you, fantastic. If it doesn't, I'm not the person for you. And really acknowledging that this week, not only professionally, but in our relationships, but also within ourselves and our own connections in regards to anything that's being reflected back to us. Only then will we recognize what is relevant, and from there, recognize where we truly are. And from there, recognize how much we've actually learned. And from there, recognize what it is we are now being asked to be of value and share. So, of course, these underlying energies, these less taken seriously, less in the spotlight type people, situations, circumstances that are coming to light to be asked to bring forth everything that they have gained by being under the radar, they may wobble this week, ourselves included. Yeah, this bed is fucking expensive. However, that's helped me to wobble and helped me to think, yeah, this is actually what I really want to do. And there is going to be that repetition there this week, but it isn't a repetition of, oh, I need to shift this, oh, I need to heal this. It's that test, that exam at the end of something. If we've gone through all these different things, the end of something, to say, okay, have I learned enough on this? This morning, what really came through was that version of me as a midwife many, many years ago that was professional, that was the top of her game, that had really earned her place there. yes, I'm there. I'm there with my own massaging abilities. I'm there with my own healing abilities. I'm there with my own spiritual abilities. I'm ready. And that's what this week is really about, an opportunity to re-ground into where we actually are, what we have discovered about ourselves through our body, through the perhaps unnoticed aspects of our journey thus far, and how we are then going to apply that to life, where we want to take that, and then, and only then, asking for help from the universe. I've got a clear cup today that I'm drinking my tea out of, and it feels quite important to acknowledge some messages are repetitive, some messages aren't necessary anymore, but this one does feel quite relevant. It's clear. It reminds me of the heart. Really clearing out anything that's going on in there before we ask for help, because we're getting help, but we're getting help from the level that we're still seeing ourselves at, and that is key this week. That really, my screen just flickered. That is key this week. Really seeing ourselves from the level that we are at, and then asking for help. Looking at any loyalties that we may have to old stories, to old narratives, to old versions of ourselves. And that's not to say that we push them to one side, but we welcome them home now. We've seen them as separate. We've gone into this journey with them, this scenario of whatever that may be, relationships, jobs, whatever that may be. We've seen our wounds. Let's bring them home for the medicine that they have to offer, rather than continually seeing them from a place of wounding or pain. What have I gained from this? As I say, an example of having a life of lag or times, and that feels important as well. The last aspect before I get onto the cards, looking at what we're actually focusing on. So yes, it does feel sometimes that like my whole life has been a hand-to-mouth scenario. It does really feel like that, but the reality is it hasn't been. There has been moments, like everything, where there's been an ebb and a flow, where there's been that harmony and that balance. You know, there's been times when I've had the finances that I need for that situation. It may not be what I want long term, but it has been what has been needed in that moment. And that feels really poignant this week. It may not be the big picture, but it has definitely, these things have been the steps towards it. Okay. Really looking at what we focus on. So this pendulum of poverty I've experienced in my life, whether that's finances or however you want to look at it, this pendulum of poverty, this luminosity of lack, if you will, has really highlighted strengths within me. And it's those that I'm going to choose to take forward, rather than the wounding that has got me to those realizations. And that is what we're being encouraged to look at from our body this week, the perspective that we are choosing to take forward. And there is an element of choice there. So how do we get to that choice? How do I know whether to share something on Instagram that it is a bit close to the bone, or whether to hold back completely? Well, it's not about what is just right for me, because I'm aware that my Instagram account is not just a personal one, it is my work as well. So it's not just about what is relevant for me, but it has to have some authenticity. It has to speak to my heart before I share it with others, and it has to be true to who I am as a person. So first and foremost, key there, does it speak to your heart? This video included. Does it make you feel, yes, I can relate to that, and actually I've had a journey with that, and actually there's something I can share around this that may help others? Does it speak to your heart? Does it help you remain true to who you are as well? So there are times when there's certain things, particularly on TikTok, where I think, fuck yeah, that's exactly how I feel right now. But that's how I feel. It's not relevant to everything else going on. So really being discerning there this week, taking it up to the next level, because May is very much about expansion, but about expanding out. Okay, about going in and expanding out as a result. So we must go in first. Where is this coming from? What perspective am I taking? Am I sharing this because it's, oh yeah, I'm so angry and this is how I feel? And there is no judgment here. Do this, don't do this. It's entirely up to how your pendulum is swinging and what you need. But going into recognizing where you are in your core first. Am I sharing this because it relates to me, and because, oh, I've just had this huge row with somebody and this is exactly how I feel? Because we're going to see that. We're going to see things based on where we are. Or am I sharing this because I can relate and actually I can help? That's the difference. Are we stirring the shit, or are we stirring it up so that we can help clear it? And that's really going to be key with ourselves as well. Are we picking at the scab of a wound that's already healed, or are we clearing it out? There's a big, big difference. And this week that's really being asked of us so that we can cut through the crap and actually ask for what it is we need based on where we are, not where we think we should be, not where we are loyal to being, whether that's stories of our own or other people. Okay, so 14 minutes in, there was something else I was going to add on that. That's where it feels really important to pause. And feel into the bigger picture. There are things that I share because they relate to me. I know they relate to others. I know I can help people with that because of any experience that I may have gained. There's also learning there for me to be had to complete that circle, but also on a bigger picture. Okay, on a bigger picture. So pausing and being in the moment, and that brings me full circle to recognizing that the chop wood carry water, the everyday things, the experiences, the feelings, the presence that is gifted to us in every moment, to pause and drink our tea, to recognize that receiving is an action itself, to be with the energies that are happening, to lean into what we are feeling, even the fears, especially the fears this week. You know, oh, I can't afford this bed. Oh, that's really brought up a lot for me, feeling into that. What I'm feeling into is I don't believe in myself to be able to pay it off. That. Then when I feel further into that, okay, look, feeling into all the other times where I've had this doubt, what's happened? This greater strength comes up, that trust. We're not going to be able to get the empowerment if we don't go in to get the power. This week, that really is key. Okay, recognizing the power of our body, of the feelings, of the sensations, of the multiple, numerous situations and lessons that have occurred so that we can bring it all together. I want to put a nice tidy bow on it. And that leaves me a bit of hope because my brain wants to say we can't put it all into a nice package, but actually my heart says yes, we can, because when we pause and when we realize, sit into it and feel it, we can acknowledge that they've all got the one thing in common. They've all been about harmony and coming back to who we are. I share who I am, and I do so unfucking ashamedly on all of my social media platforms. That may trigger people. That may make people think, oh, that's not very professional. I wouldn't go to her. So be it. Because my whole ethos is about being 100% as much as we can in every moment who we are. To not do that is hypocritical. To not do that, for me, lacks a severe amount of authenticity. That is what we're being faced with this week. It's not the existential crisis that we may feel that it is. It doesn't mean we have to change and be something that we're not. What it means is an opportunity to see who we actually are. Okay, so and standing in that when others may not see that. You know, I'm acutely aware, like TikTok, that I can go unnoticed, acutely aware, like lesser giants, shall we say, that I don't always get perceived in the reality that I am. But I'm also acutely aware that it doesn't matter. What matters is how I see myself. And that is the same for us all. That is the same for us all. No matter how much something might agitate us, what's going on here? What's the reflection here? Am I seeing myself this way? Am I feeling unnoticed because I don't notice myself? So really taking it that next step in this week if we are to expand out. Okay, Emperor at the bottom of the pack. Not surprised to see that. And actually that is the one thing I will address. I can see the crown of Julius Caesar almost. The last thing I will address, the masculine this week is really going to come to the forefront, and we are really going to see where we may have stabbed that energy in the back regardless of gender, where we may have questioned our actions, where we may have had views and opinions on how things should be, our healing, how we love, how we've got out there, the things that we have produced as a result. All I can recommend is that we do so from a place of compassion for all of it, to really sense into, there is an anger there. There is an anger from the masculine rising collectively, but also individually, of that feeling of I've done this, this and this and not got anywhere. Okay, what views do I have? What expectations do I have on those actions? Where are those actions actually coming from? Are they coming from a place of they need to get me to here? Imagine that was a masculine, a male, because that's what our actions are. Imagine if that was a soul in front of us and we're saying, this is how we expect you to be. We wouldn't like it, and yet we do it on everything that we have planned. That's not to say give up hope. Hope and expectations are completely different things. And expectations can actually limit hope. And that is, I really feel that in the higher heart, letting the higher heart lead this week. That is what we are being encouraged to look at. Where do our expectations actually limit the hope that is available for us? So an example. I am still looking for somewhere to rent. Still looking for somewhere to move to. Having some humour with that. Humour is always a great medicine. But also acknowledging the reality of that something hasn't shifted with that, because I've been very undecided, and holding space for that and being okay, because I needed to get to the point where I am now. However, when I look for somewhere to rent, I can hold space for things that I can afford now, things that I may be able to afford in the future with a few things that are occurring in my own circumstances, and also a dream. We can hold space for all of it and still carry on with everyday life. It's possible. And examples like TikTok or lower social media, my daily guidance, for example, it isn't a whole reading, but if you look at it, there's a picture there, there's a song there related to the picture, there's a invitation, a call to action there, and a whole story. There's a whole piece of artwork occurring for everything that we are doing right now, provided we can expand our skills and not limit ourselves to, oh, I only do this, or I can only share this, I'm being professional so I have to be this, this and this. Okay, but that is the energy that is going to match you back. If you want more, open yourself up to be more. And that doesn't mean that you're not good enough. That just means there's so much to us we have yet to tap into. And that's where I see that Planet of the Apes video again. So I really need to feel into that. And I see the Fall Guy video. So there is a part of our animal self, our animal instinct, that we are almost trying to evolve beyond, that needs to come back. That needs to come back, that drive, that ambition, that energy, those emotions, that very animalistic view of life, their very shamanic view of life, that full embodied experience of life. Never saw the Emperor as a shaman before, but hey, hey, of course, yes. Right, energies for this week, because we're 23 minutes in and I'm going to keep it short and brief. There's a high chance it will be repetitive, because that's how the universe works. No, that's how, you know, we can be aware of these energies, we can channel these energies in, and then we can have the tarot to confirm it. Recognizing the things that we see this week are a confirmation of what we've already known, and that's not to be smug, that's not to be, oh, well, I knew that. That's to be, wow. We could all do with a bit of awe back in how we see ourselves. Yeah, the Eight of Swords has just come out of the pack. Yeah, we can all do with a little bit of awe back here to free up how we actually see ourselves, to recognize that the mental imprisonment comes from the views and limitations we have of our own capabilities. Okay, so why would I do a reading for the week? Let's really feel into that. We're going to have applicable actions based on the energies. That's what we're going to ask for. We're going to ask for how to best navigate these energies. Because if they're going to be repetitive, what is it we are going to take forward from them? beautiful. No, oh, the Knight of Swords at the bottom of the pack here. Yeah, what is it we're going to take forward here? Well, it is our mindset. It is in how we view ourselves. It is in how we view our journey as well, and the learning that we have discovered as a result of that. And this week's new moon blog, actually the call to action at the bottom is, are you ready to take charge? And it's not so much the charging forward. Be mindful of that being in Taurus. It's not so much the charging forward and even stepping into that kind of energy, that I must do type energy almost confuses what's trying to come in. It's, can you take the charge that is coming in, the increase in vibration, the transformation in our own frequency? It's that we're being asked to take forward this week. So we must receive. We must receive in order to move on. Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Being very aware of what you see, what is yours and what is to be shared, and to keep that fine line this week to be, I don't want to say boundaried, it's not boundaried, it's not direct, there's another word trying to come through. Balanced perhaps, no, it may come later, but being very mindful. Being very mindful of what messages are for you and what are to share, because I look at this and I can actually see some legalities going on with house moves for myself and my own situation. However, that is for me. That may be relatable to where you are, and that is in the cards. But first and foremost, recognizing what is yours to receive this week is the first step, and then what it is we are going to share as a result. On the Monday, we have our first major arcana and our only major arcana for the week, which is justice. Sitting between that, keeping the heart light. Yes, that clear cup, keeping the heart light, letting go of all of the crap, really going deeper here, making sure that we are acting in rather than acting out, making sure that we are solid in our foundations, that behind us we use the transformations that have occurred, that we are direct in our approach, but we are also balanced. There's no point being unrealistic, but there's also no point being unrealistic. So we can be unrealistic in where we currently are and would like to be, but we can also be unrealistic in where we are and where we used to be. So being very mindful, being very aware, being very sovereign in our own energy. It is that is the action that's being asked for us on the Monday. On the Tuesday, we have the Four of Wands. Recognizing that our home is a house, that our home is the planet, that our home is relationships, but that our home is our body, and celebrating that. Taking a moment to celebrate whatever is occurring. It reminds me of the poem by Rumi, The Guest House, where each reaction is welcome for us as ever long as it needs to be. Seeing our body as a temple, first and foremost, so taking care of it. In particular, as we go into the new moon with Taurus, we are thinking about body, sensuality, enjoying the simple things in life, but looking at diet and exercise, massage. Who knows, maybe I'm about to have a huge influx of massage and that's why I had to get the table. But really looking at the bigger picture here that starts from the body. What does your body need? What is being asked of your body, and what can you share with your body and with others from your body as a result? Recognizing that your body actually is your temple and your home, and celebrating that. When these emotions come along, when this drive comes along, when this spiritual, almost nervous energy comes along, okay, what's going on here? It's an opportunity for transformation. What am I feeling? What do I need? Okay. And when I look at this card, when I feel into what do I need, celebrate it. Celebrate it. Can you imagine how boring life would be if we felt nothing? If we were totally, and I've been there, if we were totally detached from everything that we felt. That's the other side. That's the other extreme. Okay, so really going in and recognizing the power of the void doesn't mean that we don't feel anything. There can be this real assumption that in order to be mindful, we are at peace and we feel nothing. Being at peace with everything that we feel on the Tuesday is a real invitation to then look at the poverty pendulum with the Five of Pentacles on the Wednesday that we may have perceived, but seeing it from a different perspective. It's always been about hope. The Five of Pentacles is that turning point, whether it's our health, whether it's our finances, whether it's the bloody weather. On this card it's snowing, whether it's the weather. The Five of Pentacles has always been a turning point to see that change, Transformation is what actually gives us hope, but it is what comes from being with what is occurring as well. Knowing that those swings, that pendulum, those almost extremes are an essential tool for us to discover our own inner harmony. That is where we share from. Not when we're extra angry but less calm, but when we're both. Not when we're placid and not affected by anything, but when we're both. Yeah, when we're really balancing those scales. How we come back to the heart, but it's the higher heart this week, and there's a real opening in the higher heart, and it feels as if recognizing that every single chakra is a heart, every single chakra is an eye in how we see the universe. So the Peruvian people will clean their 11 chakras, their 11 eyes with the sun. This week really embracing the need to bring light into all these different areas so that we can actually see what it is we're seeing and where from. In particular on the Wednesday, and that is with that new moon in Taurus, one of the most beautiful things we can do for ourselves on the Wednesday is to look at the focus we are taking before we ask for anything to be manifested. There's no point asking, and I'm going to take this on board myself, there's no point asking for the lottery, the winning lottery, if you don't feel as if you're ready to receive it on whatever level. And that could be self-worth, that could be you don't believe in it, that could be you think you subconsciously need to earn it first. It really doesn't matter. What matters is what energy are you asking from? And there's no judgment here, because it's all learning. It's all part of our own transformation. It's all part of those colors of being human. Okay, so it's all an opportunity to clear our energy centers. It's all an opportunity to discover who we actually are. And that will come to light on the Thursday in the King of Pentacles. Grounding into our masculine is only going to come from really accepting every action that we've done as part of this journey. Yeah, really letting that go. Accepting everything that we have done leading up to this point has been in our own abundance, whether that's experiences, whether that's finances, whether that's relationships, whether that for some of us is pain in order to receive the medicine that we need. Whatever we have done in our actions has been what has been needed. And that can be, I want to say that can be really hard to swallow, and actually it doesn't feel like that. There feels like a real grounded truth and acceptance in that. My light just flickered on my screen. There feels like there's a real, or at least the opportunity. I'm going to say at least the opportunity. Again, perspective. All depends on how we choose to see that. How mature we choose to be with our own actions on the Thursday is going to be key. And it's going to then influence Friday's energy. And this is where I feel like I need to open my legs, get more grounded, really take a firm stance and breathe on the Friday. Even though there's one major arcana this week, it's justice. I'm going to say it's fucking justice. I nearly didn't share it then, but actually it's justice, and it's a game changer this week. And come the Friday, yeah, we're really needing to feel into what now has been blocking our view. If we haven't noticed it already, there's a high chance by the Friday we would have noticed it, because we have the 10 of Wands, and I'm right down by my heart. It's like the heart is itching, the heart is growing, the heart is, healing. When nerve tissues come back, when the body starts to heal, we get that itching, unless it's an infection. And being very mindful of that on the Friday. Is this a healing, or is this because something's not quite right and a bit rotten here? Really feeling into that on the Friday. How? By recognizing what seems too much. We have the 10 of Wands, it's that end game. By recognizing what we no longer have passion for, what we no longer want to do. Harsh, but it helps us recognize then what dreams we're going to take forward. And on the Saturday we do have the nurturing energy of the Queen of Swords there, that's going to help us say, do you know what? The similarity between her and justice is huge. Do you know what? Everything that's happening, my sword is connected to the fates. I am divinely aligned to my highest good. I am the minor arcana version, if you will, of justice, and I'm going to nurture that. I'm going to let this energy guide me, this energy that says I'm not doing this anymore, or I am going to do this, or I can feel this and I'm going to react this way with this. Being very, very strong in your connection to yourself, your feminine, and your own divine balance and harmony this week is going to be key. And if not, we're going to be shown when we're not. If not, we're going to be shown where we see things from a more poverty-stricken perspective. We're going to see how that can affect how we view abundance. We're going to see how that can impact how much we take on, believing that perhaps we haven't done enough because things haven't quite been how we would like them to be. We're going to see the impact that that has on our ability to celebrate our bodies, our home, what is going on for us in the present moment. We're going to ultimately see on the Sunday with the Ten of Cups what our heart desires and how we perceive that, how we see our own dreams and our own wishes here in regards to what makes a happy home, what makes a happy life. Not when this happens, when that happens, when I get X, Y, and Z, but in every present moment. However, I'm acutely aware that some of that is mine. So being mindful of any projections this week. Okay. Right. Let's break this down. And the more aware we are of any projections that we are receiving, but also giving, the less we need to explain, the less we need to go into what is occurring, the less we need to dilute everything around us, but also our dreams. Really taking stock, really going within this week and really honouring our own process before we expect others to do it for us, for themselves, whatever that may be. Okay, so 1, 2, and then we have 2, and then we have that. Okay. I'm going to put the Knight and the Queen of Swords together. We have 2 sword cards. We have the masculine facing one way, charging forward, and then we have the Queen facing the other way, really stationary. And that is the conflicting energies this week. That is the, or at least the appeared conflicting energies. And underneath it all, yeah, we have the 9 of Swords, which I'm not surprised to see. We can almost feel as if we're being torn in what we want to do and what we're feeling. Okay, and nurturing what we're feeling is what's going to help us do what we want to do. Doing what we want to do is going to help us nurture how we feel. It's not, there isn't a conflict there. It may feel like some energies are lighter or younger, so a little bit like me with the sharing of the TikToks. Yes, they're close to the bone. Yes, they would probably appeal more to my teenage self, and yes, they are more direct, fun, real, human, if you will. But the more spiritual, nurtured, older, adult version of myself can also recognise that there's a place for them. Acknowledging that, honouring that this week. In those moments where we feel like we may want to leave a situation, where we may feel as if we're going in a completely different direction to what the universe wants of us, sensing into the similarities rather than the differences that is going on between you and others, or you and situations, or you and what it is you're trying to achieve. What do they have in common? Allowing that to be nurtured and allowing that to move us forward. That's that balance, yeah, that's that balance of justice. How we come back to the heart. How does it feel? Well, when I share, it feels good. And yes, I can definitely see my more higher evolved self going, but it doesn't mean that there's any less real for aspects of myself. And that is the key. When we come down to thinking we are just one way, that's where the ultimate pain and division comes from. The expectations that we have on ourselves are huge, particularly this week. That's when I move on to the wand suit here, and that's where some of the tiredness comes from. So really encouraging, when you feel that passion, that ambition, that drive, ensure that you feel stable first to take it forward. Ensure that you feel ready and provided for to take that forward, that you're not doing it all on your own. One of the things that I shared this week on the on one of my Instagram pages was that we really need to be in relationships in order to grow, not to wait for things to be perfect before we do things, whether that's relationships, jobs, situations. There's almost this collective belief that we have to be of a certain level first before we get X, Y, and Z. Totally demoting the fact that we learn as we work together. Yeah, we learn as we work with the body. We learn as we work with spirituality. We learn as we work with the experiences of life. We learn as we walk, not work. Seeing work this week for the path that it is. We learn as we walk with each other. that we're all, as Ramdas would say, walking each other home. And that's really the nub of it this week. That's really what it's all about. When we forget to see that in ourselves, or when we forget to see that in each other, reflecting that, celebrating that, celebrating, you know, the walk that everybody is walking, rather than diminishing it, because that's where the exhaustion is coming from. When we're diminishing the path of others because it's not this way or that way, what we're actually doing is diminishing our own as well. We may feel as if we're strengthening our own resolve and our own path, but really, not really. Okay, so really looking at that, really looking at that. We then have, so we have 2 sword cards, 2 wand cards, 2 pentacle cards. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. A lot of balance there with our mind, a lot of balance there with our drive, and a lot of balance there with our physical body. They are at the stages of 2. So remember, for example, if you're 2 centimeters dilated, you're just establishing. You're just starting to establish things. It's not to say it's not painful. It's not to say it hasn't kept you up all night. It's not to say that it hasn't started to take its toll on your body. It's establishing things. We are in the establishing phase with this new moon in Taurus. Okay, so really giving that the respect it deserves from now until November with the full moon in Taurus. Really giving this process the respect that it deserves. Recognizing that life takes time to bloom, so too do we. It's that that's going to help us between the 5 of Pentacles and the King of Pentacles. To recognize our actions, our learning also. How we grow is a learning process. Okay, we're not supposed to have all the answers. The answers come from living life. We can see that as the poverty pendulum, or we can see that as an opportunity to come back into balance and find a deeper, more sustainable, grounded sense of abundance in ourselves and our connection to who we are, in ourselves and our connection to others, in ourselves and our connection to the earth around us. Okay, and then we have 1 cup card, which is the 10 of cups, and there is only 1 cup card, and I'm going to say there's only 1 cup card, and it feels quite important to recognize that there's only one emotional energy this week that's going to help us, and that is hope, faith, belief, love. That higher heart, recognizing that in despair there is hope. In sadness, there can be joy. In grief, there can be love. Okay, really clearing out our expectations and our views of how things should feel, how things should be. When we grieve someone, we're loving somebody. When we're frustrated, it's because we have hope for something more. Okay, so really feeling into the one energy that runs between polarities here, being that Justice card, sitting between these polarities here, not from the perspective of the High Priestess. The High Priestess has been down to the descent. This is her sister. This is the other side of it. We've been there. This is what we've gained, our resolve, our strength, the love that we are. Holding that as much as we can in everything that we do. The shit, the good, the haven't quite figured out which one is which at the moment, because ultimately they're all an opportunity to really open our hearts up to what is going on for us inside. And then we have justice, and then we have justice. And justice is there throughout the week. And what I hear is just is, but that's my interpretation of that. And that's okay. Feeling into your interpretation of what's going on for you. And I sense that right under my liver, right in my solar plexus, right into the space of the heart. Feeling what is going on for you this week. It just is. We can see all these different perspectives. We can examine everything that is occurring externally, but ultimately the power, the truth, the balance comes from what is going on for you. What are you feeling? What do you need to restore that harmony? Is there anything else? Well, let's feel into that. This week there is going to be the medicine, not the wound of not being enough, but the medicine that comes from recognizing in every single moment, regardless how we may have seen it, we were always, always enough. And in every single moment to come, we will be. Take care, have the most incredible week, and I'll see you post New Moon in Taurus.